Hello, everybody. Welcome to Best of 2023 Case Studies in Event Excellence. My name is Neil Nev. I'm the editor-in-chief of Skift Meetings, and I'm delighted to be your host today, along with the entire Skift Meetings team and a couple of my colleagues who will also be moderating some of the sessions. Andrea Doyle, our executive editor, and Angela Tupper, our branded content editor. You'll see them a little bit later on. So in this rapidly evolving world, we can count on events to innovate, inspire, and impress. What exactly were the event experiences and technologies that left us spellbound in 2023? We're going to delve into the past year to unearth the magic, and we're excited to share these insights with you. Today, we're showcasing 7 events that truly stood out from the rest. And these events weren't just memorable for their creativity, but also for their profound impact and all-around excellence that they embodied. We're not just showcasing, we're going a little bit behind the scenes. We're asking you also to vote for your favorites. So stick with us until the end and you get to vote for which event you thought was the best, and we'll announce the top 3 at the end. So that should be fun. Before we get started, I have a little poll for you. We're going to have a few polls throughout the event. And we're going to ask you the first poll. There's a QR code on the screen, and we're going to drop the link to the poll in the chat as well. This first poll, we're going to ask you, what do you think today's attendees are seeking most from the travel experience of business events and meetings? And we're going to give you 5 options. The first is the availability of wellness-themed activities. The second, cultural experiences at major attractions. The third, off-the-beaten-path experiences with the local community. The fourth is CSR activities. And the 5th is outdoor activities in outstanding natural environments. You can only select one, so hopefully you'll select one that resonates the most with you. And we'll come back to those a little bit later on so that you can figure out what everybody thought was the most important of the attendees are seeking today for business events and meetings. So a little housekeeping. We're back on the Stova platform for this event. Stova is Skift's event tech partner. And a few things to keep mindful of. The chat, that's where we invite you to add your comments. Some of you have already done that, so we welcome you to add comments at any point in the chat. It's completely open to everybody. And if you want to ask questions of our speakers, and we also welcome that, please do that in the Q&A section. That allows us to kind of moderate that and be able to present those questions in the best way possible. So appreciate you doing that as we go. I want to thank our sponsors who, of course, make it possible for us to produce these events at no cost to you. Make sure you visit their showrooms in the platform. The sponsors today are Creative Group, Cvent, Destination Toronto, Stova, our event tech partner, Walton County Tourism, and WebEx Events, formerly Socio. Thank you very much. They really make this event possible. Also want to thank DJ Graffiti for kicking off the event, as we've done before, and some sonic inspiration and musical therapy that he's so good at. And Stephen Frazier, the founder and coach at The Fit Principle, he'll be with us later on to get us moving a little bit, because we have a 2-hour event and we want to make sure to keep everybody sort of fresh as much as possible. On the Skift Meetings side, I invite you to, of course, subscribe to our newsletter if you don't already do so. It's completely free, and you can do that on our website. And of course, we have a number of different reports and events like this that are also free, and you can access them and download them also on our website. So make sure that you are able to do that if you don't already subscribe. So I don't know if we have the poll results ready, but I'd love to kind of figure out who's in the lead or which one of those options came up first. If we have them ready, let's bring them up on the screen. But if not, we can jump to the first session. Oh, we're here almost there. No, not quite. We'll come back to that a little bit later. So let's get started with the first event, and this is the World Experience Summit. But before we jump into that first event, we have a short message from one of our sponsors today, Destination Toronto.
Toronto, our montage, embroidered in graffiti, the artist's playground, the entrepreneur's launchpad where antiquity is framed in fashion, a place where the imagination grows wings. Here, there's something for everyone, because everyone is here. Here, artists design young minds with educators, innovators coalesce with curators, curators fuse with entrepreneurs, musicians remix the pulse of the city, poets and architects infuse with academics. Come, explore the magic we're building. Bring your values, visions, and perspectives. With open arms, present your true essence. Witness the montage of culture painted on a blank canvas. the cacophony of ingenious businesses creating global change. Let our cultures inspire yours. Come to our home. Toronto welcomes you.
Please welcome James Wallman, CEO of the World Experience Organization, and Rajiv Kohli, Joint Managing Director of Creative Travel India, in conversation with Miguel Neves, Editor-in-Chief of Skift Meetings.
All right, I'm back and I can't wait to get into this conversation. I'm delighted to be joined by James Wallman, the CEO of the World Experience Organization, who is the mastermind behind the event that we're going to be talking about. And also with us is Rajiv Kohli, the Joint Managing Director of Creative Travel India, who's run and participated in thousands of events worldwide. So for the first event we're covering is the event called the World Experience Summit. And I was drawn to this event from a LinkedIn post that Rajiv actually posted not too long ago after participating in the event this summer in London. And it was a glowing report. Rajiv said that he found a new home. And for someone this experienced in creating events to say such amazing things about an event, I knew this event was special. So if you're not familiar with the event, we have a short video that'll just kind of set the tone of what the event was all about. So let's play that video now.
So what I find incredible about the WXO is it's brought together people from all over the world. So me, myself, coming from Shanghai, meeting people from South America, from the United States, it is just absolutely amazing.
You know, everybody here is in the experience business. I think they need to understand the possibilities of creating a transformation to go beyond those experiences to help people achieve their aspirations.
I have flown from San Francisco to come to the first ever World Experience Organization Summit. What I've learned is that there are just so many people doing really, really incredibly interesting and diverse experiences all over the planet.
The people that came here, like, of course, we all work in the same industry, but it's such a diverse crowd. Like, there are some freelancers, artists, businesses, startups, a lot of academics too, like PhD. Yeah. So it brings like a diversity of ideas and opinions.
I think what's just really exciting is to feel like we're at the forefront of something and how there's like an endless supply of possibilities as to what can be done experience-wise.
My experience has been unexpected, entertaining, inspiring, and very memorable.
I've had lots of people come to me saying, "Oh, James, I can't believe, you know, what you and your team, what you and Olivia put together here." And I'm like, but no, we didn't do this. You did this. They came because you're here. They come here for each other.
It's really, I found my tribe.
So hopefully that gave you a little bit of a flavor of the event. I know that was very quick, but I'm going to cover some basics. We had 226 participants, experienced professionals, and we'll get into who those are in a second. 2.5 days, 62 or more sessions and experiences, 17 experience safaris around London. This is not a simple event. Very few sponsors, ticket prices up to $2,000, and a really unique venue called Phantom Peak, which is a part escape room, part immersive theater, and part real-life video game. And I'm going to run a short poll now, and you can use the same link, and we'll put the link in the chat as well. How often do you consider using unusual venues for your meetings and events? And your options are never, rarely, sometimes, often, almost always, and every time. I have a feeling James would choose every time. But James, I want to jump to you, and I want you to take us through the backstory of this event. Where does this concept originate, and what were your objectives for this unique event?
Okay, just first of all, thanks for having me here. It's and Rajiv too. I really appreciate this. It's it's an honor, and it's really exciting to see that video. I haven't seen that video for probably a month or two. I'm like, oh, that was good. Okay, so it comes from the mission of the World Experience Organization. Our take is that we're trying to be the World Economic Forum for the experience industries. And by that, I mean connect the pioneers, people like Rajiv, who create experiences. We're cross-sector. So we go everything from user experience to customer experience to immersive experiences, experiential travel, anything that involves a human, whether you call them a patient, a player, a user, a guest, a client, etc., is where we are. So we're kind of thematic, we're horizontal, and the idea was to bring those people together, which is what we've been trying to do since when we first kind of started late 2020 in the pandemic, and then we opened for members to join in 2021. So this was our, we've created some kind of tribe, band of people that want to create better experiences and believe in this idea of looking outside of category to find better ideas they can bring back and make their own experiences better. And we needed to do an IRL event. Zoom is magic, lucky us, and other forms of this technology we're using here. This is amazing. Aren't we lucky that you can be in New York? I think you are. Rajiv is in New Delhi. I'm here in London, and we can have this. We're so lucky that this exists today. And I think this is like the Pax Romana, Pax Mongolica, Pax Americana. This is making connections possible. But doing it in real life is you can strengthen those relationships. And we wanted to do that.
And I know you have around 500 members. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is that probably more now?
It's about 550 now. Yeah.
Yeah. So you had almost half of your membership at the events, which is pretty impressive. And you run weekly online meetings as well, right? You're running one today. So these kind of, you don't call them webinars, you call them campfires, I believe.
We call them campfires, and deliberately, because when you sit around a campfire, you say things that you probably wouldn't in other circumstances. There's an ancient thing about fire, and we sit around, and we've done that forever. But we run 2 a week, one early and one late, so that we can reach the people in Shanghai and Singapore and Auckland, as well as the people in Santa Fe and San Francisco, etc.
Perfect. Rajiv, I want to come to you. I mentioned your LinkedIn post earlier. I really want to kind of know where you heard about this event and kind of what made you register and that kind of process of kind of discovery of this event.
So James was the keynote speaker at the Site Global Conference in Dublin last year. And I really enjoyed what he said. And then just coincidentally, me and my wife sat down with him at the lunch table with Mallory Brown, another great speaker. And we had a really spirited debate that led my wife kicking my backside later on. Why the hell did we say so much? And I was just so enamored by what James has had to say. And, listen, in our business, we use the word luxury a lot. We use the word experience a lot. But some of these words are just so bastardized. And to find somebody who used the word in a different context, I was just drawn. I don't know him from before, but it was just one speech, and that lunch made me say, I want to follow this man where he goes. And that led me to the event in London. And, I said it on my LinkedIn. I found a new tribe. It was personally enriching.
Yeah.
And I spend a lot of time, and I want to spend money and time enriching who I am as a person, as a professional. And I found a venue to do that.
Perfect. And I know that I heard the word tribe a number of times already in that video as well. So that seems to be a real kind of theme around these experienced professionals. So I want to jump quickly to the poll results, because I'm curious about how often people are using unusual venues. And okay, pretty balanced here. Recurring sometimes seems to be the top result. Every time is 0%. I don't know if I'm correct, James, if you would fall under the every time, but Phantom Peak seems like a really unique place to run an event. It's not really a hotel or anything like that. So I'm not too surprised at these results, but I'm happy to hear that nobody said never. There's a few people that, everybody's at least looking at unusual venues for events. So I want to stay with Rajiv for a second. Highlights from the event. You said it was you found your tribe, but what really stood out for you as things that were, different or really kind of not something that you would normally see in an event that actually made an impact with you?
Well, Miguel, I do find that within our own industry, and it doesn't matter which industry you're in, you regurgitate the same knowledge, the same discussions, the same, this trend, that trend. And I was looking for something different. And I think I really found that it's the type of people who are here. There was a sense of innocence and simplicity, if I can say that from a point of arrogance, that these people were there not because they were driven to make money. It wasn't like our great shows in Frankfurt and Vegas and Barcelona, where the drive of being there is very uni focused. Here, they were there because they were genuinely passionate. And I was just absorbing that and listening to the stories, listening to some of the people that have done things so beyond my status, my experience, and the humility of the people. The humility was mind blowing. Which, Miguel, humility is not something we find very much on our side of the table.
Yeah.
Okay. It was really, really enriching that way, and the conversations were genuine. There were no hierarchies. There was no, okay, I've done this amazing work for Disney, and I just looked at her. Wow, you've written all that stuff. You've done all that work for Disney, and I'm horrible with names.
Stacy.
To these two gentlemen who run the James,
The
that
College
thing
of
in the castle.
Extraordinary, the College of Extraordinary Experiences.
College of Extraordinary
Klaus and
Experiences.
Paul.
I want to go there next.
Yeah.
You know, it was just something I had never seen in my own space.
Yeah, it sounds like you were able to get some really amazing people together, James. And I think that's kind of part of the organization. But I think something that I'm picking up from Rajiv is this idea that you were able to really put people in a comfortable way, that they weren't trying to sell to each other. They weren't, they were just kind of helping each other experience and understand kind of how they can help each other in a way. Is that part of your thinking, and how do you actually put that into the event, right? Because it's not just about bringing people together. Of course, I think that's a huge part of it. But how do you put that atmosphere there? How do you set it up so that people can really be themselves and really go down to this kind of level?
I wish I was smart enough to understand a really good answer to that. But what I can say is the commercialism is important. We need to make money. Our belief is idealistic, that better experiences will make the world a better place. We want to make better experiences that make people feel alive, that make money, sustainable from a financial point of view, that are profitable, scalable, repeatable, but also good for people and planet. And I think that's entirely possible to do all those things. And so we at the WXO, we're interested in the art, the science, and the business of experience. And it's really interesting to hear what Rajiv was saying there, because I think there is an idealism that comes first. And there's a recognition that we also need to make money around it. So at the event, there were lots of people who are, BRC Imaginations Arts, for example, that have been running since, I think, about 1981, creating huge projects around the world. So there's an interesting line of, making money. And in terms of how we did that, I think maybe my background is a journalist and an author. So it's much more the kind of, as you can possibly tell, a passionate belief in the potential of experiences. I think just as consumerism and materialism transform standards of living, experientialism will transform quality of life. And the way we'll do that is by connecting people. So the way that this translates into what we do is we try and find, and we have people come to us. We have loads of people apply to join the World Experience Organization, and we curate a set of people that make great experiences. So the members all have to pass a test. They have to be approved by the membership committee. And that's the core of the people who came. And then the others that come along that kind of like, I want to find out what's going on here. And in terms of, I like that point about hierarchy. We had owners, CEOs, people in the Blue Loop Top 50, a number of people from the Blue Loop Top 50, for example. There of course is hierarchy. If you're a Walt Disney Imagineer, you're kind of more senior than some of these people. But it's really important, if you want psychological safety, if you want people to share, to flatten that. And so you come away from borrowing from Priya Parker's wonderful book, The Art of Gathering, about how you have pop-up rules rather than etiquette. So everyone we had this wonderful, crazy, weird opening experience that made everybody feel special when they came in. And we also tried to make connections that are across industry. Sometimes it's about, hey, maybe you guys could work together. There were investors there too, and but making connections across category so that we can all come out in a position where we are better experienced designers, operators, creators, so that we can stage better experiences in the world. So I think it comes from that mission as a starting point. And when you work back from what you're trying to do, it seems that good things happen.
Yeah, it does sound like putting the right people in the right places is super important. So very fair. I'm afraid we're running out of time very, very quickly. So I just have one quick question for James, which is if you could pick one thing that you were going to do differently in future editions of the World Experience Summit, what would that be?
With the experience safaris, I think we would organize them better. We would make it easy. I thought it'd be really fun to say to people, hey, this is your one. You need to go find the people because you've got to
And
kind
just please explain what experience safaris are.
Oh, good point. So and next year we're doing this in the States actually, and it's important we choose a place where there are lots of experiences that people can go to because we're all in the experience world. Yep. What we did is we sent people out to experiences to go have the experience and then come back to discuss it. Stop, start, keep. What was good? What wasn't so good? What could be worked on? What can we abstract from this? What tools, what techniques, what can we take from this that we can use in our experience to make a better experience? So that's what we do every week. Yeah. So the experience safari is a sort of, it's not just a let's go have fun. It's like, let's go have fun, see what we think and see what we can beg, borrow, steal and use in our work and compare with each other. So I think we would
so you let people loose in a big city with lots of experiences happening in different places and they go into the city and find them and experience them and then they come back and tell everybody, right?
We were more helpful than that. We definitely gave them some more, how to get to Punch Drunk, how to get to some social entertainment thing, how to get to jury duty, for example. These different,
and they were expecting them, I would imagine, right?
So they were?
They were expecting them to arrive, right? It was prearranged.
Yeah, exactly. And we had people show up to every one. It was just, from what I understand from people, I think we could have just made it a bit simpler for people. London is a big city.
I just think the concept of sending people to experiences around the city is wonderful. And I'm looking forward to hearing more about how the event develops in future years. Thank you both so much for your time. I know it's short, but I think we gave people a little inkling of why this event was special, and we included this in our list here today. So thank you both for being here.
Thanks.
Next up, we're looking at Cvent Connect and its innovative attendee experiences. Don't go anywhere.
Please welcome Paulina Giusti, Senior Manager, Meetings and Events at Cvent, and Nick Kopach, Senior Director, National Events Sales Programs at Topgolf, in conversation with Angela Tupper, Branded Content Editor at Skift Meetings.
Hi, everyone. I'm here today with Paulina Giusti, Senior Manager of Meeting and Events for Cvent, and Nick Kopach, Senior Director of National Event Sales Programs for Topgolf. Thank you for joining us today, Paulina and Nick.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having us.
Before I jump into my questions, I want to remind the audience that you can leave your own questions in the Q&A tab. The focus of today's session will be on innovative attendee experiences, with Cvent Connect being our case study. So, Paulina, can you give us an overview of Cvent Connect and the steps you've taken to engage attendees and just really drive engagement for the event?
Yeah, I'd love to. So for those who aren't familiar, Cvent Connect is Cvent's annual user conference. And we've also blended this concept of marrying it to an industry event. So it is predominantly for event professionals, members of the meetings and events industry, which obviously includes hoteliers, destinations, unique event venues. And for us, the 3.5 days of the conference are really catered to showcasing case studies, best practices, networking opportunities, memorable keynote sessions, a pretty traditional B2B user conference experience. But if you can see the slide here, some of the quick hit stats are, this year's event, we hosted over 3,200 attendees on site with over 5,000 virtual attendees. This is Cvent's largest marketing campaign. It's also our largest converting marketing campaign. So it certainly takes a big village to put on. It's not just myself and my team designing the event, but our partners and stakeholders across other departments and divisions. And for us, it is a true business impact marketing tactic. And so much of that success is really driven in the creative event design decisions that we make, very much so in partnership with our partners and sponsors. I do have a couple other slides that I just want to dive into to give people a sense of how we think about event design and creating this innovative experience. We take a twofold approach. It is a hybrid event, meaning it does take place on site over live event days, but it's also streamed to a virtual audience and made available for attendees to watch on demand. And so myself and my team, we think about designing the experience from, a logistical perspective. Space planning is absolutely critical in having really engaging experiences on site, but also very much so tied to post-event reporting, which I can get into in a little bit. But for us, it's about marrying the on-site experience with that virtual experience so that you're really getting maximum engagement from both attendee types. And for us, that's hugely important. So this slide just kind of gives you the tactical view of event design, right? Organizing the spaces of programming areas within the conference space. Just below that, you see a sort of timeline view of a digital promotion strategy that speaks to the various programming areas within the conference. And that program strategy, or promotion strategy, I should say, is how we pre-promote the event in a digital way, right? It's not always emails. It's not always, social. It's a matter of driving people to engage in a mini episode of, what to expect for keynote sessions or what to expect from a trade show experience. And so we've gotten really intentional with blending our event design experience for both the in-person attendee and the virtual attendee. And speaking of virtual attendees, I just can't say it enough. If you have a subset of attendees who just don't have the budget to attend an event in person, it's hugely critical to think with them top of mind and creating engaging opportunities to engage with your brand, with one another, with sponsors, exhibitors. So for us, these are equally as important when it comes to making event decisions that have impactful experiences. And so for us, it's a matter of thinking about both audiences. You see a listing here of different ways to engage with the virtual audience. In some cases, it's applicable to both, right? In-person attendees get push notifications just as virtual attendees. And a lot of a push notification strategy is around wayfinding, right? So we're telling people breakfast is about to start on site, but we're also telling people keynotes are about to begin online. And so there's this mutual intersection of leveraging engagement tactics for both audiences. And that's very much a part of how we design Cvent Connect. And I will definitely say Cvent Connect is what it is because of our sponsors and because of our partners. And we're able to design these really imaginative offerings throughout the course of 3.5 days. Those experiences are defined by production. They're defined by activations on site. They're defined by evening event experiences. And I think hopefully that gives you a holistic view of Cvent Connect and some of the decision-making elements that we go into for designing that conference.
You made so many great points there. And I think hybrid is a format that got a lot of backlash in the last year, but it's still really important. And like you said, some of your attendees might not have the budget to come in person. So you really have to think about how to integrate that virtual experience as well. And I love what you said about sponsorships. So how do sponsorships play into Cvent Connect, and what specific benefits have you seen from these relationships? In particular, since we have Nick here, how did this partnership come about with Topgolf?
Well, I'm going to just call it the perfect sponsorship case study. It was a long time in the making. I want to say, we just kind of got our feet wet with a partnership experience back in 2019 when we were at the MGM Grand, and Topgolf had just opened in the Las Vegas region. And it was just an impeccable facility. And there was just so much that we wanted to do in partnership with Topgolf, but we started small. And I think a lot of the best partnerships and sponsorships kind of walk, then run their way into success. And for us, Nick and his team, they brought their swing suite on site in 2019. It was a great event. Obviously, 2020 and the subsequent years thereafter kind of had a small hiatus, but we rekindled our relationship with them in 2022 planning for our 2022 event. And, we had smaller numbers on site, which afforded us a kind of larger option for evening event options, right? Typically in 2019, we were over 4,000 attendees. And so you're kind of limited into where you can take people for an evening event. But Topgolf still can hold a ton of people, but it was like the sweet spot for us. And what we were thinking of is, we want to offer a really cool evening event experience. And Topgolf shared with us, a lot of their objectives, business objectives, their brand objectives. And instead of kind of going, cookie cutter mold off of our sponsorship prospectus, I think what was different for us, and Nick, jump in here, was having just an honest conversation and them sharing with us, these are our goals. How can we bring those to life in a mutually beneficial way? And we did. Nick, go ahead. Maybe share some of what the goals were for you all.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Paulina. We love the partnership with you guys at Cvent. And yeah, I think for us, we always want to educate the marketplace on Topgolf's full event capabilities. And it was the perfect time to do it. I think in terms of coming out of the pandemic, Topgolf, we're growing like crazy. We know the reach and the type of audience that Cvent has. And it took a lot of internal selling. We had to tap on multiple units and buckets of money, if you will. It was definitely a larger expense than we've ever done at a trade show. But when you talk about, having that audience come on to your home turf and getting to do site tours and educate them on how amazing Topgolf can be. And I think what Cvent did was they put our logo, but our associates in front of the audience all week long, whether it was our sizzle video running on a video wall outside of registration, or having our swing suite in their innovation village, doing the offsite tours throughout. It was just an amazing week. And I think the way we had it set up where, right, Pauline, it was trade show day the next day. So talk about a sales team's dream. We had folks just stopping by our booth constantly the next day saying how much fun they had. And I think the event went so good, you guys extended for another hour. There was action packed the whole time, and everyone playing, having fun. But the biggest example / win was we hadn't gotten to Boston yet, and we just opened there. And Fidelity, pretty big brand, their hub there, and their meetings and events team had never been to Topgolf. So they got to experience it that night, and they found us the next day and said, hey, this is amazing. We need to host 35 cities of employee appreciation events, and we think you guys are perfect. That translated to, $250,000 of ROI very quickly. But again, there was a lot of wins that came from that show and that evening event, and the list goes on and on.
Yeah, that's obviously proof of a partnership that's working well if you get some direct business out of it. And I love what you said about having the logo visible throughout the event and allowing the attendees to actually experience your product. So I think those are some really great tips. How do you plan to build on this success and continue to grow your presence at events like Cvent Connect? Can you give us a sneak peek of what to expect in 2024?
Yeah, I think, again, I can't say enough great things about Pauline and the Cvent team. They truly make us feel like it is a 50-50 partnership. I feel like we always try to scratch each other's backs. But last year, we wanted to dip our toes in the water at ASAE. We have never exhibited there. We actually went into Cvent's booth with them, and we co-partnered together, and it was amazing. I think the association market continues to be a driver for us, but still untapped to some level. And that show was amazing, and so much so we partnered at IMEX as well and did some really cool on-site, think outside the box type activations and ingrained our brands together throughout the whole show. Pauline, I think sky's the limit on what we can do looking at 2024. But, again, I can't say enough great things. If you're listening as a supplier, don't be afraid to partner. Don't be afraid to bust out the whiteboard with, whether it's a Cvent or even another supplier. I think you're shooting yourself in the foot or selling yourself short if you're not looking to partner and think outside the box.
And from an event professional perspective, think about your total event program strategy and think where there are gaps, right? We're all kind of struggling with maybe smaller budgets or tighter budgets. And it's these partnership opportunities where there's mutual opportunity for brand promotion or lead generation. It's this kind of partnership that kind of extends itself beyond those sort of live event dates. And so for us to see the trickle down impact from our sponsorship partnership opportunity at the Connect conference to our trade show roadmap strategy to, like Nick said, the opportunities are endless for the forthcoming year. But think about your total event program when it comes to your partnership opportunities, because it can be truly impactful.
That's really great advice that, you can partner in more than one event if it goes really well at one event. And, I think adding this health and wellness element also is really great for both of your brands. Thank you so much. We're out of time, Paulina and Nick, but it's been really great. Sponsorships are so vital to events, especially at a time when prices are skyrocketing and budgets are tightening. And it's great to learn that these, tips you're giving can actually enhance the attendee experience. So it's not just about making money. Next up, we have Great Minds Think Unalike, featuring Advertising Week New York. You don't want to miss it.
Please welcome Dana DiGregorio, Global Managing Director, Mesh Experience, and Luis DeLulio, Executive Director of Global Partnerships and AW New York Advertising Week, in conversation with Andrea Doyle, Executive Editor, Skift Meetings.
Hi there. Thank you so much for joining me today, Louise and Dana. Really excited to talk about Advertising Week New York. It was held this year, October 16th to the 19th at the Penn District in New York City. And this is an industry tentpole event. It was a 4-day live experience that included 15,726 in-person pass holders, more than 185,000 virtual session views, more than 20 special events, more than 1,200 speakers and attendees from 60 countries. And why we chose Advertising Week New York is we were talking to an industry insider about this virtual event we're having, and he said this is one of the best events there is, and especially an event that gets it right for the next generation event goer. So that's what I'm really excited to talk about. So what I wanted to start with was, Louise, I know it was held in a really unconventional venue this year. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
For sure. Happy to jump in. And Andrea, thank you so much for having us. Dana and I both are so excited to be here and to chat about Advertising Week. So this year, Advertising Week was held at a very unconventional location. We actually took over an old mall. So for those of you that are in New York or familiar with New York, it's actually formerly the Manhattan Mall. So
wasn't that where JCPenney was there, right?
Yes. So it used to be big kind of flagship JCPenney. There were tons of other stores. It's been closed for a few years now. And I have to give credit to Frank Riley, our global head of ops and production. He kind of got wind it was available, saw it, and imagination ran wild. And he took us for a site visit and kind of, positioned it as this could be really great. And we all saw the vision and felt it. And we built a event for, close to, over 15,000 people in a abandoned mall. So it was very cool and, very out of the box and super creative, which is something we always try to lean into.
Okay. And Dana, you were an attendee of this event. And when we were chatting, you said that even though it was, thousands of attendees, you felt really, really welcome.
Yeah. So I was an attendee. I was also a presenter. So I can kind of give my feedback on having both of those roles. I mean, as Louise said, Advertising Week New York was almost 16,000 people. There was a line that was going around the mall, right? I think it was 42nd or 43rd Street. I can't remember which one it was. But one thing I would say is that Louise and her team did such an incredible job at organizing the flow. You can imagine that, being an attendee, not even a presenter, but just somebody walking into a building of that magnitude can be quite overwhelming and even intimidating. But I think that in order to pull off a really successful event at that scale, organization is key. There were people, in different queues in the lines, making sure, okay, which pass do you have? Are you a presenter? Go this way. I remember even at one point, I think it was day 2 or day 3, bumping into Louise and thinking like, oh my God, I can't believe there's so many people here. I can't believe I'm seeing you now. So from an attendee's perspective, one, it was really fun. It was fun to revisit that venue in a reimagined way, but also it was super, super organized. And as a presenter's perspective, we had a presenter's lounge. It was very, I had somebody kind of dedicated to me to make sure that I got where I needed to go, which is another kind of stressor, right? When you're presenting at a big scale event, am I going to find the room in time? Or, am I going to be waiting outside the wrong door? So those little details really make, an event that's 16,000 people almost super successful.
Oh, great. And just to interrupt for a brief second, I want to just alert the audience to the poll question, which has to do with DEI. And the question is, how do you deal with DE&I at your events? Through education at the events, a DE&I events program highlighting those that get it right, an awards program, lounges for like-minded people to gather, or DE&I receptions, which brings up a great part of Advertising Week New York. I know there's a big emphasis on DE&I. Louise, can you explain a little bit about it?
There is, and I think that at our core, and one thing that we're super passionate about is Advertising Week is for everyone, from all walks of life, no matter what your seniority, no matter what your age, job level, where you come from, truly we're for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So we've put a lot of work in over the years to really make sure that that is evident and really giving people a place that they feel comfortable, that important conversations are had, really bringing that to the forefront. So in 2019, we actually started a program called the Future is Female Awards, which is all focused around honoring and recognizing leading women in the industry, regardless of job level. All they have had to do is, based on their nomination, have made a really big impact or, are changing and pushing things forward. Dana was actually a judge for us this year, which we were so happy to have. And our nominations this year were more than we've ever had. These women that we honored and that entered are truly changing the world, not just changing our industry.
Wow.
And so the Future is Female program is something that we feel, really passionate about, and we've put a lot of work into. And, in addition to that, we have global partnerships with collectives like Group Black, where they had a lounge this year at Advertising Week with, very kind of curated content, meeting opportunities, networking opportunities. We also worked with the Female Quotient, where there was a dedicated lounge for, I believe it was 2 days during the event. We also have, and I don't know if this falls under D&I, but just kind of going back to the accessibility of Advertising Week, we have a student badge where, students can buy a ticket for a heavily discounted price, so they can also have the opportunity to come and learn. We have a new gen badge where it's for 30 and under, which again, a discounted level. So, people who are just starting out in their career can also come and have the same opportunities that, maybe a CEO or CMO might have. So it's really something that we, try to make sure that it's at the forefront. I think a lot of times, a lot of people will talk the talk, but, maybe don't actually walk the walk. And something I'm really proud of what we do here is I really believe that we do a good job of walking and talking.
So making it financially accessible opens it up to diverse attendees and diverse minds, doesn't it?
It does. Our price point comparatively to our, I'll say our competitors is very affordable. We do take place in New York, which is, even with the remote work and, people moving out of big cities, New York is still the, hub, I'll call it, and home to the industry, to, marketing, media, advertising, PR, and all that. So it's easy to get to. It's, especially this year, we were literally in the hub of next to every single train station, whether it was subway and, commuter train, buses, things like that. So it was a great location and just really easy to get to, in addition to having the accessibility from a financial perspective.
And Dana, like Louise said, you were a judge for the Futures Female Awards. Can you just share with us a little what that was like?
Oh, it was incredible. It was such an honor to, one, collaborate with Louise and the team at Advertising New York for such an important initiative. I am a shareholder in a female-run organization. It's very important to me to highlight women who are making great strides in our industry specifically. But, there are the women that came across our desk for nomination were mind-blowing. I mean, we had a woman come in from Poland who was doing just incredible work getting news out about the war in Ukraine. We had a woman who was nominated by her 18-year-old daughter for her bravery working in Hawaii. So I almost felt as if what am I doing judging these incredible women? But it goes back to, the ethos and the authenticity. And that's really what I think sets Advertising Week apart. As Louise said, a lot of brands, a lot of events, they talk the talk, but if you deeply care about something, like Advertising New York does, it will really, really shine and come through authentically. And that makes for just incredible moments. The night was fantastic. We had such a good time highlighting, a really, really diverse set of females who are just badass and setting fire to the world in a great way. So it is all about, walking that walk. And I was super, super excited to be a part of it.
And the awards, the Futures Female Awards, kicks off Advertising Week, doesn't it? That's your Monday night.
It is. So we start our thought leadership programming that Monday during the day, but the kind of kickoff, event and kind of cocktail event, VIP event, we'll call it, is the Futures Female Awards on that Monday night. And, we try to kind of reimagine it each year and really lean to an, interesting and very fun kind of experience. Obviously all focused around the awards, but really giving the audience an opportunity to come experience different cool things. So this year we were at a music venue and we had some up and coming female performers that, were kind of the opening of the event. And then we did the awards program. And I think it was probably the best one we've done yet. And we've done these since 2019.
Yeah.
So it was a really fun event, and it's kind of become a can't miss, ticket, like must have. The lines are always down the block, and each year we have to grow and make sure the venue for the awards is bigger than the last to make sure everybody can get in.
So as an editor at Skift Meetings, we've been covering the fact that people aren't going to as many conferences and conventions as they once did. They're being a little more picky. How do you make Advertising Week New York a not to miss event year after year?
So I think, you hear a lot about like how people compare different events or compare products to other products or competitors, things like that. We kind of think of it as competitor, I think. We're always trying to make our stuff better. So always focusing on, what did we do last year? How was it great? How can we top it? If we focus on making our stuff really great, the people will show up. And, with over 15,000 attendees, it kind of worked. So just making sure the conversations are really of the moment, keeping our finger on the pulse in terms of what are the hot topics, what are great speakers? What are kind of these can't miss events and these moments? And that kind of translates into it.
And wasn't there a lot of talk about Taylor Swift this year?
So there was, a lot of Taylor Swift from a brand perspective and kind of what she built. A lot of, and this actually goes back to the female conversation too, but a lot of Beyonce, focusing on both tours over the summer and then Barbie, the Barbie campaign and, chats about Barbie was everywhere. We actually had the chief brand officer of Mattel, and she did a whole session about the brand campaign that ran over the last, I'll say 18 months.
And why is that the case? Because the future is female.
Exactly.
That's why we kicked off. That's why we kicked the week off. But Andrea, just really quick, just to add on to that, the expectation of event goers is high now. To your point, not everybody is attending and they're picking and choosing. So you really have to step up your game and also keep your audience at the core of what you're doing and why you're doing it. So bring in the proper speakers, really invest in getting, new talent in front of old talent, and, level up your game when it comes to the event venue, like Louise and Advertising Week New York did.
This has been great. We're going to pull up the poll questions. Oh, wow. Okay. That is fascinating. What are your thoughts about that?
Go ahead, Dana. You want to jump in?
Yeah, I'm a little surprised, actually. Honestly, I would have thought maybe the second and third would have had a bit more of the weight. It makes sense, but yeah.
Yeah, it is very heavily skewed, obviously. And I think that obviously education is important.
Totally.
But I think a big piece also is focusing on knowing who your audience is.
Yep.
So I think it could also be, per event too. So maybe, these are, whether it's more of a thought leadership focused event or if it's more of a networking event, I think that can kind of skew.
And then education goes along with content. And like you said, you told me your content is finger on the pulse content.
Yeah, we try to kind of stay, really of the moment and make sure our programming team does an amazing job of making sure that we are, talking about things that are relevant and even looking towards the future and what's to come.
Well, Dana, Louise, this has been great. I've so enjoyed our conversation. I could have went on for much longer, but I thank you both so much for your time.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Likewise. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Stephen Fraser, and this man to my left, who's still here, is called Louis. Okay, so we've been sat at our computers for a good bit of time now. It's always good to split it up with little bits of movement in between. Okay, so we're going to start at the top of the body and work our way down throughout the next 4 or 5 minutes. So we're going to start, as I said, with the top. So we're just going to look at some neck rotations. So we're just going to start at one side, and then from there, just keeping nice and tall, we're just going to rotate round to the other. We're going to do 10 of these. That's 1, 2, hello, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good. So now what we're going to do is a reach down and up. Okay, so from here, have a little bit of room in front of you. We're going to reach down in front of us, and then we're going to drive all the way up to the top. So just get a nice extension in that spine. So that's 1. Again, we're going to do a round of 10. So that's 2, 3. So the movement has always been well documented to help boost our concentration, focus, and alertness. So if you have a little sort of 3, 5, 10 minutes in between meetings, it's always good to get a little bit of movement in so we can come back to the working day a little bit more refreshed. So we get 1 more in there. Nice, extending up Good. Okay, so we're going to add in a little bit of spinal rotation. So from here, we're going to keep our arms straight, and then we're going to rotate to one side. If you've got a dog like me, make sure you don't hit him in the face. 2, 3, oh, thanks for your cooperation there, Louis. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, last one, 10. That's always quite a nice one. If we're feeling quite stiff, a little bit of that rotation always helps. So we've got 2 more exercises. From here, we're just going to bring one leg over. If this is an issue, then we can kind of just, whatever position feels comfortable for you. If you want to put something in front of you to support your foot, that's fine. So from here, we're going to think about being nice and upright, and we're going to reach forward, getting a little bit of stretch in that hip. So we're going down. See Lou's doing his own movements at the moment. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you should really be feeling this in the hip. Maybe a little bit in the outside of the leg, glute area. 9. One more. 10. Good. We'll go other side. Same thing here. So just nice movements tilting forward. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Perfect. So hopefully you feel nice and alert with that movement, and enjoy the rest of your seminar.
Please welcome Tyler Blocker, Customer Success Manager at WebEx Events, formerly Socio, in conversation with Angela Tupper, Branded Content Editor at Skip Meetings.
Hi again, everyone. I'm here now with Tyler Blocker, Customer Success Manager for WebEx Events, formerly Socio. It's great to be here today with you, Tyler.
Oh, sorry. Classic. Thanks for having me. It was great to be here. And like I said, I was doing some of those wellness movements to get warmed up here.
Sounds good. Before I jump into my questions, I want to remind the audience that you can post your own questions in the Q&A tab, and we'll work them into follow-up content. So Tyler, I can't wait to pick your brain about WebEx One this year. I saw that the in-person component in Anaheim was sold out. And from looking at your agenda, it sounds like a really big focus was on showcasing how your customers are using your product. What do you think are the advantages of this approach as opposed to a more classic product demo or tutorial style?
Yeah, and I think this is something that you'll probably hear me reference throughout our time together here, but this just gives us a great opportunity to showcase our products. I know when I'm talking to my customers, they always love to hear, not only from me as the product expert, but also, hey, how are your customers using this? What are they doing? And really see some real world examples. So bringing customers on and having them showcase what they do, we feel almost makes it like a case study, and then falls somewhere between that testimonial and a narrative as well. In addition to that, it makes it more real for the audience. So again, they're seeing real life examples of exactly how our customers have used it for their own customer base or for their events or whatever else it may be. Also, this allows people to think outside the box a little bit because, again, we have our own ideals of how we want people to use the product, but then our customers can take it and change things and really, again, showcase some of those outside of the box thinking there.
Those are all really great points. And like you said, the real world use cases might be different from what you initially intended, and they can be really creative and great ways for your other customers to learn exactly what the potential of your product is. You also had an Oscar-style Customer Champion Awards ceremony to recognize how each unique organization, sorry, you were muted and my voice is going out on me, but how each unique organization has transformed workspaces, and customer experience using WebEx software and devices. What kind of value does this type of award ceremony have for customer-focused events like this one? Do you have any tips for event organizers looking to do something similar?
Yeah, absolutely. And first, just to give a little background, how we did this is first we allowed for open nominations, which just allows us to have as big of a reach into our customer base as possible. At the end of that time, we ended up with about 80 nominations across all of our award categories. Within those awards, we wanted to highlight our core values. So things like hybrid work, collaboration, and then put it on innovative events are just some of the examples there. I think when you think about awards and winning awards, that's always going to be a fun time. You know, everybody always wants to win and be recognized, but being able to take it that extra step and have it based off of the Oscars, which is one of the biggest award shows, I think, out there, just again, takes it that little extra mile and provides that little extra piece for your customers that you are recognizing. So you're bringing them up on stage, showcasing our most successful customers. And then, like I said, again, making the customer making the customer feel special and just nurturing that client relationship. Another thing, and as I kind of mentioned before, is showcasing these customers just again allows us to showcase our best product use cases, and then hopefully fostering some connection for those attendees in the audience of, oh, hey, they did this. I would love to go speak with them and see exactly how they did that. Or, oh, I could do this. And maybe I'm on that stage next year. So again, taking that awards experience and making it as fun as possible is something I think can really provide a lot of value to your customer base.
Absolutely. I mean, who doesn't love an award? And I love what you said about it facilitating networking potentially, and, you know, attendees and customers learning from each other. Of course, styling the awards around the Oscars was an intentional part of a Hollywood theme you had going for your closing keynote. You had Robert De Niro and the CEO of the Tribeca Film Festival as well. And they weren't the only big names on your speaker list either. We all know that a celebrity speaker can add a lot of cachet to an event, but what advice would you give to event organizers who want to ensure that these stars actually have something relevant to say for the event?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head right there. I mean, celebrities and then those big names are always going to draw excitement for your event, no matter who it is. But really taking the time and thinking about, okay, how can we tie the celebrity into our audience base or what we're talking about at the event or things like that. So really thinking about what the celebrity or big name has to say and how we can convey an important message for our attendees. So then they're leaving something when they leave that session. And it's not just, oh, I got to see so-and-so speak at the event. So for us, what we did is like you said, we brought in Robert De Niro and Jane Rosenthal, who are both involved in the Tribeca Film Festival, and just allowed them to share their story on how they're using the inclusive technology to aid in the storytelling and also expanding their audience reach. And one thing that was really cool is that's something they've actually used WebEx for. So again, showcasing our product is something that was, again, important throughout the whole event there. Another person we brought in was Neil deGrasse Tyson, and just talking about AI as that impacts everyone in the world right now, no matter what industry you're in. So hearing the future of that and where we're headed is something we felt was super important. So again, as you're looking at your event and wanting to bring in these keynotes, not only making sure that they are, going to be recognizable or going to be able to provide that excitement, but then taking that excitement and giving your customer something, or your attendee something valuable to have after the fact.
Absolutely. I love all of those points, so they're channeling the zeitgeist with the AI topic and then getting celebrities who are actually your customers to come and speak, like Robert De Niro and Jane Rosenthal. That's really fantastic. And I believe that you even had your closing keynote divided into Act 1 and Act 2 to really kind of play up this theme.
Correct. Yep. Just continue the theme of that Hollywood night is, yes, Act 1 was our Oscars award style ceremony. And then Act 2 after the fact was when we talked to Robert De Niro and Jane Rosenthal.
Amazing. It wasn't all big picture ideas either. You also had 30 technical training courses. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? What advice would you give to a planner looking to implement something similar?
Yeah. So what we have found is these are actually our most heavily attended sessions, and then actually end up being very highly rated after the fact. So what we do is these sessions are very intimate and they're very focused on the technical aspects of our products. So things like integrations, implementation, and troubleshooting, We feel this is super important because it gives our customer base that really know our product a chance to get in a room and get into the nitty gritty and really expand how they can use our products. So with these, we are targeting, like I said, our current customers because we want them to have that experience with the product. If you're looking to do something like this, one thing we found is, again, these are heavily attended, so plan for more attendees than you think, just because these are some of the most important sessions, because it's allowing your attendees to truly learn at your event and gain some great ideas. And then also, because these are so technical, make sure your decks and slides are very easily accessible after the fact, just because so much is going to be going on. They're not going to be able to remember everything. So providing them the resources after the fact to continue those learnings is something that is super important.
Those are such great tips. Prepare for more people and provide those resources after the fact so they can review them. Really wonderful points. You also had 40 breakout sessions to keep things interactive. What did those look like? Were they birds of a feather style breakouts, fun activities?
Yeah, so most of our breakouts focused on all aspects of WebEx, and we had a few different tracks mixed in there with a similar number of sessions offered. So allowing people multiple opportunities to go learn more aside from the keynotes. The one thing that was really cool is all of our breakouts took place on the show floor, actually. So it really allowed for some continuity of they didn't have to leave the main area to go to a different room or anything like that. We kept them all in one place so they could bounce from being in a breakout to going and talking to a speaker or to a sponsor they wanted, or even going to some of our activations like our silent disco or getting branding material made or things like that. So I think that's something that was really fun and something we'll look to continue to do.
Those are great points. You know, you can't just think about how the breakout sessions are related in terms of topic. You also have to think about how they're related and close by physically in terms of the layout. Wayfinding is such an important part of any event. You also had, sorry,
one thing if I can jump in there as well is with that customer story piece, that's one thing we continue to the breakouts as well, but we had a good mix in each track of that product discussion and demo, and then also those customer stories as well. So really, again, providing all opportunities for our attendees to learn.
That's great too, connecting the customers even in the breakout sessions as well. So really keeping that focus in every part of the event. You also had a virtual component for this event. Can you tell me a little bit about how that worked? Just how integrated were the in-person and virtual event experiences?
Yeah, so there were a couple different ways our virtual attendees could access our event. Mostly our virtual attendees were just accessing the keynotes. So those were both streamed to the event platform and then also to our website. Excuse me.
And then to me too, it's this winter dry air, I think.
Yeah. Or those attendees that were actually in the event, they were pretty integrated because they could do things like play the game, interact on the walls, connect with attendees and things like that. So using that event platform really gave those virtual attendees a chance to feel like they were actually at the event and part of that audience as well. One thing I will mention is that training part is one thing that is solely focused on in person, but just because we've had such a demand, that may be one thing we look to moving forward of expanding into our virtual audience. Again, just giving more people the opportunity to dig deeper and learn more about our products.
I love how granular you're getting here because I think a lot of people feel intimidated by the idea of running a hybrid event and they wonder what parts can be virtual, what parts can be in person. And you can start out with just streaming your keynote. You don't necessarily have to make every part of the event available virtually. So with that in mind, what do you think the biggest trends will be for event design in 2024?
Great segue there, because talking with my customers, I think it is that balance of still having the virtual components of your event, but making this complete shift back to in-person, and just what is that sweet spot of what you want to offer your virtual attendees, and then still making the in-person experience special for your people as well. Excuse me, sorry. One thing we're definitely seeing is on-demand content, no matter if it's for your in-person audience or your virtual audience, is now a necessity, just because so many people have gotten used to having those recordings on hand and being able to access that content at any time. So like I said, I think moving forward, that is going to be the biggest piece for at least my customers is deciding, okay, what do we want to do in terms of that virtual and in-person audience?
Fantastic. We're out of time, but thank you so much for speaking with us today, Tyler. It sounds like WebX1 really made your customers feel like the superstars of your event with the full red carpet experience. And what better way to nurture client relationships? Next up, we have The Outside, inspiring the next generation of leaders. You don't want to miss it.
Please welcome Lawrence Goldstone, Partner and Future Work Lead at PwC Australia, and Monica Dolso, Special Projects and Events at Song Division Australia, in conversation with Miguel Neves, Editor-in-Chief of Skift Meetings.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this talk about The Outside 2023, the second edition of PwC Australia's unique immersive experience, part of the PwC Academy Signature Experience Program that some would say redefined corporate training. Let's have a quick look at a teaser video so you know what I am talking about.
Step out of the everyday. Accept something unexpected. Permission to dream, dare, grow. Enter a space where you can explore your aspirations, your community, yourself. Learn how to nurture your body and nourish your mind. Find flexibility, balance, purpose. Connect with our culture. Learn from our heritage to create a place where we all belong. Be inspired at scale. Sow the seeds of 1,000 ideas. See into the future today. Be open. Put your head in the game and your heart on the line, because when we connect as humans, magic happens. Stories are shared. Bonds are forged. We become part of something bigger, bolder. Allow yourself to be seen, the person you are now, and who you can be on the outside.
So I'm now delighted to be joined by Lawrence Goldstone, the Partner and Future of Work Lead at PwC Australia, who is the mastermind behind this event. And also with us is Monica Dolso, Special Projects and Events at Song Division Australia, close partner in creating the essential musical components of the event. Lawrence, Monica, thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
So I wanted to go through a few of the kind of top line details and then jump to Lawrence to kind of fill us in a little bit. And I'll show some images as we're going because I think they're worth kind of having a look at. So this is an event that took place over 5 weeks. You had 2,700 people, if I'm not mistaken, in year one, and then 4 weeks in year two with 2,200 people, which is around 550 people per week at this event. So it kind of happened multiple times. It was a 4 days, 3 nights offsite residential event in the Hunter Valley in New South Wales. And you're using an existing high-end resort and you're kind of adding onto it. I know you're going to talk about that a little bit, Lawrence. Highly curated, but self-directed. It starts at 6:30 a.m. and goes all the way through 11 p.m. And I know that there's some big money invested, but we'll get to that in a second. So I want to jump to you, Lawrence. Tell us about the backstory of this event. How did it really kind of originate and how did it become what we're seeing on the screen now?
Well, look, I think the easiest way to frame this is it was an opportunity for us to do something radically different as an investment in our emerging talent and emerging leaders. Emerging leaders in our definition are the 25 to 35-year-olds, which are a huge part of our organization. They're also often, in many organizations, the most underinvested in, and therefore the most transient. And so this had its roots in wanting to do something that was really high on the attraction scale, on the retention scale, to do something that was brand iconic and to really shift and do something that nobody had done before. And so, yes, having 550 people attending a 4-day residential learning investment program instead of the usual kind of 30 to 35 sort of going off-site was a radical opportunity to bring the best of what we've seen and done around the world to our own people and invest to create the most incredible, outstanding, world-class conference experience for them as an investment in them and their career-based learning.
So this event is just for PwC staff, right? You have this on your website. It's kind of like a main, it's an attraction point for the company. That's a pretty big deal for an event, but I think it's kind of evolved a little bit as well, right?
That's absolutely right. So look, year one, in, as you said, 2,700 people, they were all PwC attendees. Year two, we grew that and expanded that to bring in some of our clients. And the aim is to be able to offer this more to and broader to the market into future years. It really was an opportunity for us to do something really different. Our clients and our clients' clients are part of our extended community. And so this year I was delighted that we had about 100 different clients attend. We also extended this to our social impact networks and the pay it forward model around being able to invest this sort of world leading investment program into some of our charity partners. So also being able to pay it forward in that way. And so delighted that we sort of proven the model for ourselves, sort of testing the expansion of that to other networks. And then we would look to sort of further build on that in years to come.
So I want to talk a little bit about the cost. I think you mentioned when we were preparing for this that the first event cost around 15 million Australian dollars, and the second event about 11 million. I imagine that's some of the structure, some of the things that you were able to use again. Now, that's a lot of money, of course. We're talking big money, but also how do you kind of justify that? Because it's become quite a big event for the company. And I want to understand kind of how you got the budget and how you're keeping the budget, how you're kind of making it work.
I think we all want to know how I got the budget, but we managed. Look, it was a really the opportunity was there, right? So it was definitely a confluence of many things coming together. War for talent, burning need to do something that, as we said, had attraction metrics, but really around retention of our key talent and to be able to invest in people. So if you sort of break that down, it's roughly about 5,500 Aussie dollars per head as a 4-day program. So cheaper than many leadership offsite residential programs that also are often the purview of senior executive leadership. So for me, this was an opportunity to flip the model, to democratize that sort of executive-based learning and to use that as an investment in our emerging talent, emerging leaders. And when you break it down on a per head and say just over $5,000 per emerging leader, when you can get this type of investment as career-based learning and really see the impact and the ripple effect that it had back in the network, we sort of estimated it had about a 2 to 3x return for us over the different metrics from brand health, media reach, as I said, the attraction elements of what we saw as an increase, but also the retention of key talent over that period of time.
Fantastic. Monica, want to talk a little bit about music and entertainment and the role that it plays in kind of creating these experiences. I know you provided the band and kind of some of the things that Song Division does, but talk us through kind of how you help to create this ultimate experience as well.
Yeah, well, firstly, and very fortunately, Lawrence and his team already understood the power and impact of entertainment and music and prioritized it. So that was easy for us to start, a good place to start. So with that buy-in, they understood that the music and entertainment could create these incredible bonds, interactions and connections, and really create this kind of sense of belonging and connection through the entire event. So a lot of what the participants were called were explorers, and a lot of them did this choose your own adventure style where they had many options that they tapped into throughout the course of the event. But they all came together, and a lot of those opportunities were music-based experiences, and so we had to really dig deep and think, okay, where are these key moments? Where is everybody going to be together? And what impact do we want to have in these moments? Do we want to energize? Do we want to decompress? Do we want everybody connecting, interacting? So we really looked at those key moments and formulated a bit of a strategy and a plan. This is definitely not about just choosing any band and putting it on at the end. This is about looking at these real key moments and what could we do? Who could we bring in? What experiences and what memories could we create? How will we soundtrack this event and help this event, resonate for a long time to come, and basically glue it all together? So we saw the morning sessions, afternoon sessions, and evening sessions as all critical to how the event could really be brought to life and create this community, because we all know that music and entertainment, there's a whole heap of bonding that goes on when you put these activations together, and I mean the results speak for themselves in a lot of this imagery here. So it was thank goodness it was prioritized, and the outcomes were great too.
Perfect. So Lawrence, want to come to you in terms of the content and how you kind of crafted the content. I know you had sort of keynote speakers, but then you also had emerging speakers. Explain to us a bit how that worked and how you kind of structured the 4 days.
Yeah, and you mentioned the element of choose your own adventure earlier on. That was really the thematic that we wanted to sort of design on. So taking sort of design parameters from the likes of South by Southwest and other large programs where there's multiple events happening at the same time and you almost lost and spoiled for choice. That's not the purview often of corporate-based learning, where you're basically told what you're going to learn and you go one by one through that process. So this is trying to bring the best of both worlds. So there was a red thread that went through the event across 4 themes. So our themes were around country, self, future, and community. And those thematics came out in different ways, but there was a whole day focused to self and a whole day focused on future. Keynote speakers are those that are in the main tent. They're the main stage speakers that get sort of land key content. And then at any time, there was a choice of up to 10 or 12 immersion sessions where you can actually learn skills and actually be immersed in deeper content that ran for a lot longer. That was a bit of a choose where you want to go. And they were run over 3 opportunities to go and see content. So you were always missing out. But collectively, everybody got to see everything. And that was one of the things that we wanted to really bring to life. Designing for 550 people from a broad cross-section of backgrounds, cultures, communities, really was what we wanted to design into. So different learning styles, different paces. You could choose to do up-regulate learning and activities, down-regulate learning and activities. As Monica described before, even the design all the way through into the entertainment aspects, there were always multiple choices, whether that be fireside chats with the speakers or learning about cosmology with a First Nations cosmologist, or being in a rock quiz in the main stage because you just wanted to get your groove on. Whatever you wanted, you could find it. And it really was rooted in the different learning styles of all of that richness of talent that we had on our doorstep.
Now, I think you mentioned that alcohol was not a big part of the event. I wanted to kind of clarify that.
Well, like I said, this was to try and blow apart the myths and the traditional kind of conference environment, which is often dominated just by a boozy party and a bit of learning off on the side. This was really to create a really unique experience. So alcohol was there, but we put more emphasis on non-alcoholic options so that it wasn't rammed down your face. We made it so that inclusivity, 58% of our attendees come from a diverse cultural background. Alcohol is not paramount in most of those cultural events. Doesn't mean people don't drink or don't want to drink. They just don't want to be told to drink and have it placed in front of them. So for us, it was about making everything really designed with intent, an intentful design flushed through everything from the choice, the setup and the design, so that you had to go out of your way to go and get wine or beer, which was great. We're in the Hunter Valley, which is wine country. For those that don't know, in Australia. So it was there, but it just wasn't the thing that you went for. Some people enjoyed it, a lot didn't. And there was always so much going on that quite often people were like, I've never had so much fun without, needing to get pissed, quite frankly.
Yeah, it definitely looks like people are having fun. And I know you mentioned there was morning raves. I think you were involved in preparing those, Monica. Could you tell us a little bit about what that means? Did people just go straight into, hardcore techno first thing in the morning? How did that work?
Well, we designed it so that they were introduced to the idea of music in the morning. We designed it slowly. So the first morning they kind of walked in and there was a live band there. And the second morning, yes, it was a DJ sort of vibe. And the third morning was a little bit more hardcore rave style, and this picture certainly is credit to that. So we warmed them to it, and I think a lot of people shy away from this kind of thing in the morning. However, to energize, connect, and set the mood for the day, there is no better way than everybody up dancing, sharing a laugh, coming to the stage, a dance. It is a great way to start the day, make you feel like you're connected, you are one, you are a community, and you're about to launch into something pretty spectacular for the rest of the day.
It sounds like you've thought about it quite a bit. So now, Lawrence, I noticed, I want to wrap up quickly because unfortunately we only have a short amount of time, but I noticed there are no PwC speakers in the whole program, which I think is really interesting. So I want to ask about that. And I also want to ask, what are you thinking about doing differently in the future? Where do you think you can still improve?
Yeah, so the no PwC speakers or content was by design to not make this a corporate washing exercise. This was about really bringing the best of an experience to our people as a true investment in them and investing in their future leadership potential and opportunity. So everyone will take something different out of it. That was a bit of a fight, as you can imagine, for running a corporate event without corporate elements to it. But it really created this feeling of gratitude and feeling truly invested in, not that there was an expectation of something that people were going to do differently on the Monday when they return to work. So that really led people into feeling a very different about this event compared to past events. In terms of, look, yeah, there's always things you can do differently and where you would want to double down on. One of the most powerful elements that we did was on day 4, we called it the unconference, where we flipped the lid, so to speak, on the design. There wasn't a single speaker, paid or otherwise, that the audience became the sort of owners and purveyors of content. And you build that psychological safety over the format of the events. They were the most powerful. It unleashed the skill and talent and incredible diversity of people to be able to share a skill, tell a story, host a conversation, and that has continued all the way back into the office, and that is something that has still stayed, as well as people asking for music and a rave to start every event that they go to, because quite frankly, why wouldn't you? And so there's some of the things that we want to double down on. I think your question around what would I do differently though, Miguel, I think more on the inclusivity of different cultural connections and being able to bring more breadth and depth to that is definitely something that's a passion area of mine. And as we move into country and self and further development and awareness, really tapping into that is a rich source for us all to get more out of.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for sharing that, Lawrence, Monica. It's been a pleasure talking to you about this event. I'm looking forward to hearing what you have planned for next year, and hopefully we'll be back to talk a little bit more about that next time.
May even get you an invite, Miguel.
Oh, I'd love that. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Please welcome Melissa Van Dyke, Senior Vice President of Integrated Marketing and Innovation at Creative Group, in conversation with Angela Tupper, Branded Content Editor at Skift Meetings.
Hi again, everyone. I'm here now with Melissa Van Dyke, Senior Vice President of Integrated Marketing and Innovation at Creative Group. Thank you for joining us today, Melissa.
Thank you for having us.
If anyone in the audience has any questions, feel free to post them in the Q&A tab, and we'll work them into follow-up content. So, Melissa, I am super excited to talk to you about the Timeless Horizon conference that you produced for the Raising Cane's fast food chain. I heard that you had over 2,300 attendees and 20 immersive brand activations. That's amazing. What were your favorite brand activations?
Thanks. So great to be here. So they had not been able to gather in quite a while. Moment of silence for the pandemic, right, from all of us. And during that time, they'd grown quite a bit. And if you've had Raising Cane's chicken fingers and fries, you'll know why. So I think my favorite from a brand perspective were the opportunities that helped that growth of store leaders really immerse themselves in the roots of the brand, as well as connect to this forward-looking theme of timeless horizons, right? And thankfully, we had this really great expo floor with lots of opportunity for immersion and interaction. Again, famous for chicken fingers and fries. So, of course, you have to have the life-size. When I say life-size, not just like eat, but like fully life-size, huge chicken fingers and fries. And that's an actual ball pit of sauce that you can jump into. So you can, the sauce ball pit was a big hit. Their mascot is Raising Cane, who was the founder and owner's dog. So, of course, he has special appearance and he's center stage a lot of the time. But their brand's also really known, not just for one love of chicken fingers and fries, but the one love that they have for their crew members too. So, and the communities that they serve. So that one love really came onto the expo floor as well. There was a huge recognition station, so 2,300 people, but still recognizing those milestone anniversaries. There was a brand store where they could choose their own swag, Raising Cane's swag, instead of like really having it given to them. They got to have that choice. Connecting to the future, then they had virtual reality where you could look at the landmark stores that are opening. And then we actually helped bring their One Love bus. It's a full-size 70s era bus onto the show floor, so that everyone could experience this bus that goes store to store and shares Raising Cane's love. If they hadn't had the opportunity to interact with it in a store, they got to interact with it there. And I think that's just such a testament really to them as a brand overall. Their people are great brand ambassadors. We love partnering with them, and PRA, our partner on this. Amanda, who leads the charge over there, is such a great brand advocate for them as well. She's VP of Cane's Love Travel and Events. So
I love that. Yeah, VP of Cane's Love. This whole One Love theme everywhere is really fantastic. How important was connecting the brand and theme to every element of the event?
Yeah, and I think everyone on the call today would agree. That's kind of what we do, right? That's vital to everything that we do. We have such a limited time, right, in all of these events to inspire the individuals and really create that feeling of the story that we're trying to tell for the brand or for the organization, because that feeling is really what these store leaders then are going to carry back into their stores, right? So it's about being super intentional with every element of the experience. And that's not just on the show floor. So for Intention and Timeless Horizon, it was about like really connecting to the roots as well as to the future. And then that includes choosing really intentional locations, right? So this was in Dallas, Texas. That is where they're headquartered. And of course, the conference area offered a lot of wonderful opportunities for branding. But Dallas, Texas, also where their headquarters is located, they don't call it headquarters, they call it Restaurant Support Operations Center. And that's so meaningful because then we had the opportunity to shuttle those store leaders back and forth to the Restaurant Support Operations Center where they could really experience it and meet the people. They actually also there had a life-size Game of Thrones chair made of French fries, which is on my Christmas list. I wish I could get that. So it was about really intentional spaces there, locations, but also about super intentional session spaces as well from a general session standpoint, and really kind of bringing that festivalization inside to create some shared emotional experiences. They were launching some key long-term initiatives there at the event. So the production team actually built this 150-foot long, 9,000 pound, I don't know how we know it's 9,000 pound, 9,000 pound LED wall where they could really tell their story. And then in that space as well, of course, you had lighting and music and really good staging. But their brand is also part of their brand elements are disco balls. I mean, who doesn't love a brand where disco balls are a part of your brand? So we had two of the largest disco balls we could find that were in the area or in the general session space. And that really helped create, again, some more of that festivalization feel within the general session space. And that shared emotional experience then carries from that space also to the experiences like 2,300 person egg hunt.
Okay, so why a 2,300 person Easter egg hunt, and how does that even work?
Right. And I'm sure for many of the people on the teams who were like, yeah, we're going to do a 2,300 person egg hunt. Logistically, they were like, oh my God, why a 2,300 person egg hunt? And I would say what's fascinating about that is logistically, sometimes the things that are most difficult to execute are sometimes the most vital in telling a story that's really intriguing. It creates that emotion around the brand story from a brand perspective that you're trying to create. So a surprise Easter egg hunt really for Raising Cane's connected them to their roots and the past, but also to the future and this idea of endless opportunity and endless horizons. The Easter egg hunt for Raising Cane's is a long-standing tradition. Believe it or not, ever since the first store, and now all the store leaders have the opportunity every year. They host an Easter egg hunt to build camaraderie with their crew members. So we had a surprise Easter egg hunt for 2,300 of our closest friends, where we had 10,000 Easter eggs in a park near the conference hotel. And of course, special appearance by Raising Cane, the 25-foot inflatable dog. But that's really kind of connecting to their roots. Think about this concept of timeless horizons, right? An endless opportunity moving forward. Those 10,000 eggs, hundreds of them had a lot of weight. They had brand swag and prizes in them. And there were even golden eggs, 10 golden eggs, which had prizes, everything from travel dollars that you could use to expand your own personal horizons, travel to New York City to see the opening of their landmark store, cash for experiences to create engagement experience at the local stores, or shareable cash. So you would have an award yourself from the golden egg, and then you get to share it with one of your deserving crew members back at your home location. And then, of course, lifetime supply of Raising Cane's was in there as well, which was perfect for the Caniacs, right?
Fantastic. So, I mean, it sounds like you really personalized things despite it being 2,300 attendees. How did the attendees react?
Yeah, and so I'm sure I would say we hope they felt the love, and we have all the surveys and that they kind of say that, but we also have a really good tool now in social media to give us feedback on what our attendees are feeling. And there was one participant, and this was our favorite social media post of the entire event, where he was like, "What an incredible conference. I got to see some old friends and all my new ones." Then he also said, "I am stoked for the future of this incredible brand. And I even got to high five Vanilla Ice. #OneLove, but timeless horizons," right? So high fiving Vanilla Ice, right, was a big portion for him. And that's really the One Love theme too, right? So tying back to the roots of their brand, they had one of their offsite experiences was at the factory, and it was a 90s themed vibe night, a nostalgic 90s themed night. By the way, for old people like me, that doesn't seem that long ago. 90s theme vibe. But their first store opened in 1996. So again, connecting back to their roots, there's a huge boom box that was a photo opportunity. There were neon trucker hats, hand painted, all kinds of videos that you could, from 90s era musicians that you could interact with. And then, of course, no 90s themed fun is complete without a performance by Vanilla Ice. So,
I mean, it's hard to get more authentically 90s than with Vanilla Ice. So,
Ice, right?
And the Wayne's World, I saw that there too. Fabulous. So what would you say are the most essential ingredients for a successful brand activation?
Yeah, I would say overall, we talk about, being tying to pop culture, reflecting the elements, being immersive. I would say find a methodology, most importantly, that really helps distill your brand. We have our experience methodology. PRA has a great design methodology as well. But most importantly, if you're distilling that brand, be really clear on what you want those attendees to think and to do. But most importantly, what do you want them to feel about your brand as you craft your experience and as they walk away from the experience, because it's that feeling that's going to carry them forward. So I think that's the most important filter you can use.
That's fantastic. Thinking about how you want to transform them and what you want them to feel. Such great points there. Thank you so much for your time today, Melissa. Giant fries, a massive Easter egg hunt, and a Game of Thrones style chair made of fries. That definitely sounds like a craveable brand experience to me. Who's ready for some fried chicken? I know I am.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Next up, we have Google XI Days, Shifting Paradigms by Coloring Outside the Lines.
Please welcome Megan Henshaw, Global Events Strategic Solutions Lead at Google, and Paul Tremonti, Principal Designer at Paul Tremonti Events, in conversation with Andrea Doyle, executive editor at Skift Meetings.
Hi there. So when we were putting this virtual summit together and talking about the best events we attended in 2023, hands down for me, it was Google XI Days. I was honored to be there in New York City for 2.5 days. Megan was the curator of the event. I was lucky enough to meet Paul, who was one of the attendees, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's jump right into it. Megan, when we talked, you said one of the most important things is to know your audience.
Yeah, so we really started some of the very early Experience Institute exploration digging into this specifically, like how can we better create this shared understanding between audience and designer, and how can we better understand their preferences and what matters to them. And so we've been piloting for the last 2.5 years a number of different mechanisms, and now we're even leaning into more how we can explore identity and get ahead of preference, right? So we knew very early on when we were designing for XI Days that we wanted to make it collaborative. We wanted to co-create with our audience. We wanted to test a bunch of different mechanisms for developing that shared understanding, and also turning that into an ongoing conversation and dialogue between design team and audience. And so we definitely threw a lot of spaghetti at the wall leading up to XI Days. We had focus groups with our audience. We invited people in to actually be a part of the core creative team. We actually had multiple agencies working on XI Days because we wanted to have a ton of diversity of thought, and really, lean into multiple ways of thinking about tackling, our sort of problem statement and brief. So yeah, it was super important, and I think will continue to be a foundation of the Google XI work and how our community approaches experience design.
Okay. Paul, you were a member of the audience. You were one of the attendees, and you said you felt part of the community and welcomed from the second you walked into Google's headquarters in New York City. Can you elaborate?
Sure. And first of all, thank you so much for having us on the panel, Andrea. I appreciate the invite and being a part of this conversation with Meg here. Yeah, I think really from even getting the invites, and Meg did a small kind of video welcoming people in her own way, and that added a personal touch before we even got there. It really started before we walked in the doors. And so once we did, there was just a warmth about the community, how we were welcomed, where we were there to talk about really important factors, but even just seeing how everyone interacted together on stage and the community just added a warmth and made you feel put you at ease, which I think is really important. You walk into, getting to know people. Sometimes it's kind of nerve-wracking. You don't know everybody that's there. And so right away, you felt at ease. You felt like you were there as part of the community.
Okay. And talking about community, I did forget to say, we have a poll question as part of this session, and you'll be able to access it with that QR code.
Perfect segue. Perfect segue.
Exactly.
So, let's talk about how the event was curated, how you curated the community, because there were all different event specialists in attendance. Can you touch upon that, Megan?
Yeah. So it's been a bit of an organic process, but I think the unique thing about XI and the unique thing about XI Days as our sort of tentpole event every year is it's an event for experienced professionals and event professionals and leaders in our space, in our industry. So it's not a brand play. I'm really proud that Google hosts and sponsors this, but it's more about bringing together a collective, a cohort of leaders in our industry to collectively imagine the best possible futures for events and experiences. And so we knew very early on in, what started as a big research project that we needed as many people sitting at that table to think through how we implement some of the things that we were seeing were trends, how we might, make them manifest in the way of design or content or whatever it might be. And so we just started collecting people. And honestly, I mean, I open sourced a lot of our community members. I went on LinkedIn and said, hey, who is thinking about this, or who is playing around with this particular topic? Who has preference systems that we could lean into and to help you test? Who's thinking about techno-social norms? I mean, and people sort of found their way to our community. So we are very interdisciplinary. I mean, we have We have press, we have press and media, we have classical musicians, we have academics and scientists and neuroscientists, we have authors and painters and writers. So I think out of the folks that we collected, because so much of what we're anchored to is deeply human-centered design, radical inclusion, and we can't do any of that without leaning into humanities and art. So yeah, I think that it happened organically, but we were also very intentional about the topics we were taking out to the industry.
And what I think it did well was you also engaged everyone's senses. I know you had a scent specialist, you had the ode to color. Paul, you said that the ode to color really resonated with you. Do you mind elaborating?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I don't mind at all. What I really loved about that experience at Ode to Colors, it kind of touched you in many different ways. You're thinking about sight and scent and touch and feel and sound, like everything came together. And it was kind of this reminder that when when we go to when you experience something, that all those elements truly matter and make up kind of cumulatively together the experience. So in my world, if we're doing an event, like all those pieces, so much we sometimes just focus on what's the visual of it, the entertainment piece, but all the other elements, even that inclusion of the scent. And people are very tactile. I can't walk through a store without like rubbing my hands on the clothes or the fabrics, and even being able to touch and see those things, really completes the experience. So it's kind of that reminder that when you're thinking about also the colorings, how that impacts people's mood, and if you're going to a particular into a space and you're inviting people into a space, how do you want them to feel? What are you kind of angling for this experience to be, not only through the physical elements, but just the emotional through observing them through color. So all those pieces really kind of completed the experience for me.
Great. And not only was you created a sense of belonging during Google XI days, and there was, areas for people who have neurodiverse issues to get away from the hustle and bustle. Megan, can you touch upon that and the importance of neuro inclusion?
Yeah. So some of the decisions that we made to really take a multisensory approach were because of, our developing point of view around neuro inclusion. And if anyone's interested in checking out the amazing Lori Weitzner's work, she's the artist we brought in to do the Ode to Color gallery that Paul was just talking about. You can just Google Ode to Color. It's a beautiful book that she wrote exploring 10 color worlds that are all like purpose designed to help people feel and heal, and just really, really beautiful work. So I encourage you to check it out. But we lean so heavily on audio and like visual stimulation that we really wanted to break the barriers there and break that mold and engage all the senses. And some of that is because it helps engage people with all different types of cognitive functioning in a more meaningful way. And so one of the first things we saw in our research is there's a lot we've been doing that is unintentionally designing people out of our events for a really long time, specifically folks who have different cognitive functioning or who are neurodivergent. And so we launched the new project last October and have been on quite the journey and roadshow with that work. But we wanted to test all of those neuroinclusion principles at XI Days. And so a lot of what people were experiencing and seeing and feeling were those principles implemented into that overarching event design. So we had a visual language that helped people understand where things would be loud or where they would be bright or where they might be more crowded and condensed, so they could sort of mitigate their own risk. We brought in a lot of neurodivergent thought leaders to share their lived experience and help designers better understand what it's like for them to travel and to go to events. It's really challenging. And like I said, we sort of had more breaks. We had resilient spaces and quiet rooms, and we tried a bunch of different ways to implement those because we understand like not everybody's working with Google budgets. We wanted to offer a couple different ways to scaffold those things. But I'm just so pleased that resonated with people, and it is my greatest joy to see that now rippling through the industry and other people picking up that work and doing it at their own events. It is just the coolest thing to see.
Like at IMEX, there was a Ode to Color activation in one of the DMC's booths, wasn't?
Yeah, hello, DMC.
Okay.
Awesome partners in XI.
So the event is just growing and expanding in the industry, isn't it?
Yeah, which is always what we wanted and why we invited people like you and Paul to come to get the message out. We wanted to hear the things that didn't resonate. We wanted to hear the things that didn't feel great or work well, but we also wanted people to pick up and take the things that did work and did resonate and make them, drive toward those futures together. So yeah, that's really the whole point of Experience Institute. I'm just so grateful to the community for getting the word out and really taking that work and making it their own.
And Paul, you had shared that you liked the fact there were some sessions that were kind of informal, but they were sessions. And then there were areas where you could just go off on your own and experience something by yourself or with a partner. Can you touch upon that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was really one of my favorite aspects of the event was the ability for choice, the ability to kind of make your own journey throughout. And I think this really ties in nicely with understanding how people interact with one another in a space, and how really preference and tone makes a difference. So if I needed a quiet moment to go and have a conversation with another colleague or a new friend, we had the space to do that in a quiet space. I wanted to be in the middle of a louder, more robust conversation and be able to interact more. There was the ability to do that. And I think this really tied into now how I look at some of the events that I manage, and gathering information really early on about people's preferences, or any questions we can get about how do you interact with others at an event. What can we do in advance to prepare before you even get there, and then consider those options once they do get there to provide the ability to explore. There are things we think about that are stereotypically. I think Megan used this term. When we spoke last, Meg, was about why are things we think big, we think brash, we think loud, we think exciting, but that's not always the case. And so something that could be, some may think, oh my God, a backstage tour, a red carpet walk is really exciting. For others, it's like, oh my God, get me out of here. This is really, I can't take it. But I think you have the ability to think about that. If you want to enjoy it, go for it. We have the option to do that. And if you don't, we have another option to do that as well. So it really drove home the importance. I love to go to an event that I didn't plan. I can show up and be there and experience as an attendee, which I did. And it just really drove home how important that experience is.
And when we had a chat before this, Megan, I was surprised to learn that you're not a fan of event apps.
Oh boy, there's no event app people on this. I struggle. I struggle with the figuring out the tech, making the time to download, and then holding the space to figure out how the app works. It's oftentimes really hard for me to immediately find value in an app. What are you doing for me, as opposed to requiring me to go into the app and figure it out. So I'm not a huge fan.
But you do like chat groups, you said, right? Or Slack groups?
Love anything that creates audience interactivity. Okay. I think there are different, better ways we could explore to share information as opposed to an app. I love opportunities to find someone and connect with them and coordinate. But yeah, I think generally the information sharing part has been challenging for me, but I love what Paul said about choice. And one of the futures that we think is the most promising for the industry is democratizing experience, right? Giving people autonomy and agency back makes our jobs easier. It actually makes the experience better for them. And I think that's, what you said, Paul, is so true. In order for an experience to be resonant, you need highs and lows. You need something cool and then a moment to process and digest and make sense of that. And I think we have this misnomer of what it means to be engaged or delighted. You don't always have to be on in order to be engaged. A lot of people, most people, in fact, need lows in order to process and make sense and make decisions, right, and retain information. And so I think if we want the best from our audience, we need both, and we need lots and lots of choice.
And what do you have for us next year?
So next year, sneak peek. So we are in final stages of picking our creative partners for 2024. And our brief to them was help us design an event that takes place in the year 2043. Whoa. So we're skipping ahead to 2043, and we're anchoring to the three futures that we've been exploring for a while. So democratization of experience, human-centered success stories and value metrics. So rethinking ROI. And then also experiential alchemy. So bringing together all these disparate forms of experience and combining them into something really cool. So yeah, stay tuned. It will be probably late summer, early fall next year, but more to come from the community as we get into that design process.
Well, I wish we had more time because you both are so awesome, but we do have a hard stop. We're
Okay.
going to pull up the poll. And thank you both so much.
Thanks for
Thank you,
having me.
Andrea. Thanks,
Paul.
Meg. Good to see you.
Bye.
Absolutely.
So, Paul, what do you think about the poll? So,
Activations for like minute. I honestly, I'm not terribly surprised. I think based on my own reaction to this, I'm not surprised by it. There's some areas where it's a good balance, but I think you've got those different activations. Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks again for having me.
all right, Paul, thank you. I'm going to hand it over to Miguel.
Thank you both. And just to get to that poll, Google XI was about creating a sense of belonging. How do you do that at your events? And the top selection was activations for like-minded attendees, which I think is really fun. I think if you have the budget and the opportunity to do that, then it sounds like that's the way to go. So this concludes the content of our event, but let me connect the dots a little bit. And I want to also check back to the first poll that we never had a chance to show, where we asked you, our esteemed audience, for the most important thing about the travel experience for today's business events and meeting attendees. And the top result in this case is actually off the beaten path experiences with the local community. Over half of you said that that was the most important travel experience for today's business and events and meeting attendees. So I'm really, really interested in that result, actually. I think that's really fascinating. So thank you for voting. Now, we have one more final poll, and this is actually a ranking poll. So we've listed out all the 7 events that we've covered, and we want to ask you which ones impressed you the most. And please take a moment to rank the events. You can rank all 7 if you want, or just choose your top 3. We're going to show the top 3, so I'd really like you to at least select 3 that you really thought were excellent. And after I do a little bit of a roundup, we'll go to the results of that. So you can use the QR code to access the poll, the same one that you've used before, or the link in the chat. You'll also be able to access it through that. So please vote. We'd love to hear from you which event kind of resonated the most, which one impressed you the most. So while you're voting, I'll share a few nuggets that I thought were really interesting from each event that I picked up. And if you feel free to add yours in the chat, if you have things that you learned, inspiration, anything that you picked up that you might be able to use in your events, just add those in the chat so that everybody can benefit from it. So from the first event, World Experience Summit, I learned about curating the right group of people and how that goes a long way to creating the right atmosphere for interaction and meaningful exchanges at an event. From Cvent Connect, we learned a little bit about the importance of strong partnership. But what I thought was super interesting was that the kind of Topgolf and Cvent partnership started off really small and grew, and sort of Topgolf was able to get a lot out of the sponsorship and the kind of partnership, and then that grew over time. And I thought that was really interesting. It wasn't just millions or thousands of dollars thrown at a sponsorship. I really liked hearing from Advertising Week New York about welcoming people in a personal manner, particularly at an event that could be really overwhelming. That personal welcome, that hello, that embrace at the kind of registration and check-in can be super important. So a really interesting thing that they brought up. Now, WebEx1, of course, is a really big event, a hybrid event, and they use this Oscars theme to really connect the dots. And I thought that was really smart. I mean, it helps that they had some celebrity actors as keynote speakers, but they didn't just have them. They put that in throughout the whole event. And so it became kind of a theme within the event. And I thought that was a really good way to connect the dots and make people feel kind of interested in the event all the way through. Now, from the outside, which I think is a really fascinating event, I thought about how a successful event can be a valuable investment for a company. And the fact that the event itself has become an important part of how they attract top talent, that to me says a lot about the power of events when they're created in a meaningful and intentional way. So I really loved learning about that. Now, from Timeless Horizon by Raising Canes, I love the theming and how that kind of idea of nothing can replace fun and live, oversized brand activations and bringing the event together like that, I think is really smart. And it doesn't have to cost a ton. I think that you just have to use your imagination, and that kind of physical presence of objects and things I think can be really important. And the last one we talked about was the Google XI Days. We just finished that session. And I loved what Megan said about throwing spaghetti at the wall and that being important to really being creative, not just settling for an idea or a concept, but really trying different things and pushing the boundaries and trying to figure out which one works. And maybe some don't work, but at least trying them out at that event, I think was really fascinating. So let's see how you voted. I'm really curious to learn which event you thought was the best. And I'm not surprised. The Outside by PwC Australia came out on top, but also the World Experience Summit and Timeless Horizon by Raising Cane's in third place. That's a fascinating top 3. Thank you for voting and sharing what you thought were your favorites. Congratulations to all the planners, producers, and partners and participants involved in the events that we covered. So, of course, we have one more poll of sorts, but really it's about a survey for this event. We'd love to keep improving our events. So if you can, please take the survey now, or we'll send you an email with a survey that you can take just to tell us what you thought about the event and how we can do better and bigger next time. On behalf of the entire Skift meeting team, thank you for participating. If you don't already get our reports, make sure you subscribe to our newsletter and download our reports. Like registering for this event, they're free to download. You just have to go on our website and do that now. And of course, we have big news next year. We're going to be having a bigger in-person event for the Skift Meetings Forum. That's in September. That QR code, if you scan that, you'll get some information about that event. And we have our Skift Meetings Awards also launching for the second time early next year. So if you want some information about our awards, then make sure you check that out. Thank you to our sponsors again for making this event happen. Without them, we wouldn't be here. So Creative Group, Cvent, Destination Toronto, Walton County Tourism, WebEx Events, formerly Socio, and our Event-Tech partner, Stova. Of course, big thanks to our DJ Graffiti, or not our DJ Graffiti, but to DJ Graffiti, who provided us with his sonic therapy to start us off, and Stephen Fraser for keeping us moving. On behalf of the entire Skift team and everybody working behind the scenes, thank you again. Take care and hope you join us again for Skift Meetings Virtual Summits. All the best.